Hi guys! It says I'm live, so I'm going to go ahead and take its word. This is Molly from Soul School Spiritual Guidance and Healing. I give you guys a little heads up that I might be live this morning, and so here we are. I am coming to you from my new co-working campus, and this is not a green screen, you guys. There's mosquito netting here, and then these are like real trees. I wish you guys could see how beautiful this place is. I'm so incredibly blessed. So I've got a monthly membership here to come, and it's a co-working campus. Like, I'm in the middle. It's a giant palapa. There's coffee, there's water, and I've kind of got the place to myself. So welcome. Okay. I do have the Starseed Oracle, and welcome, whoever's just joined. This is the Starseed Oracle deck, and I just kind of had the feeling to go ahead and pull a card, just one card if it came out, and let that guide the discussion. But as you can see from the title, I definitely have lots and lots of things in mind, and I'd love to hear from you guys, your feedback on any sort of energy shift that you're witnessing at this time. Hi, Pink Peony. Girl, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much. Like I said, this has all been so entirely divinely guided. And okay, so the stream of consciousness that's coming in has a lot to do with this card that I have pulled. I've just been doing a lot of seeking, like, what is my work going to look like in this world? Because I understand what's going on across the planet, right? And it's just sort of like, how can I contribute to that? And I just knowing that doing the reading was not going to be it, that there's something else, right? And so I've been going through a lot of, I guess, kind of trying to get the ego out of the way here, because when we think about the plans that we're making moving forward, a lot of that gets caught up in the image that we have of ourselves, like the idea that we have, well, if I were doing this in the world, I would feel this way about myself. And so it's easy to get ourselves, like in my last reading, I talked about the mind going in one direction and the heart going in another. And so that's really what I've been going through, is my mind taking me in one direction and then my heart taking me in the other. And I feel like I was almost running so many circles in my mind that I was like, you know what, Spirit, just like, I release this, right? And it's almost like, okay, this is a really fun metaphor. That comes from my own personal experiences. When I was a freshman in high school, you guys, I was so into theater, and but I was just a freshman, and it was a small town, and whenever you tried out for a play, you just kind of knew that, like, juniors and seniors were going to get the big roles, and freshmen were just going to be like these little side roles, right? So I was trying out for A Christmas Story, and when you're trying out for a play, you really have to detach yourself from what role you think you're going to play and be committed to making it the best play that it's going to be, regardless of the role that you play in it, okay? So I'm all like, in my mind, like, I want to be, like, I want to have an important role, and I try out for the play and I get a role, and I'm the freaking turkey boy. Do you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen A Christmas Carol in a long time, but after Ebenezer Scrooge goes through his 3 visits from the ghost, he wakes up in the morning totally renewed, and he decides that he wants to buy this turkey, and just kind of like share it with the people. And there's this little, like, boy that runs through, and he's like, hey boy, go get me this turkey. So I had like 3 lines, right? And I ended up having this amazing experience, and it literally was probably like the greatest play that our school ever put on. And as far as me being able to enjoy that and fully give myself over to that, I had to remove myself from the role that I thought I should play and show up prepared for the role that I was chosen to play. That's how I'm feeling with my relationship to the universe right now, my relationship to my mission, right? Like, I could be happy as a turkey boy for the rest of my life. It's not a leading role. It's not the role that I envisioned for myself, but it's a role that is very much in alignment with my values, and is very much going to allow me to meet all of my goals as far as helping people, because of these 7 ways to prepare for contact. When we break down these 7 ways to prepare for contact that I brought up in my last reading, those are the things that I want to help people in. I want to help people learn how to integrate self. I want to help people learn how to embrace their fears. I want to help people learn how to embrace humanity, right? So as I was going through that list, so much of it was resonating with me, and I was realizing that doing the CE5 contact retreats is a wonderful way for me to be on path. Like, that's the role that I've been given by the universe. It wasn't the one I imagined for myself, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. I would love to hear how you guys are experiencing the energy shift as well. Let's get back to what the card is saying. You got the love. You can see there's this like fractal of this human being, right? These are all different parts of the self, right? This is integration of self is happening right now. And what we mean by that is that throughout life, we get messages, okay? Like this part of yourself that you're being right now, either people love it or they don't, right? And that's how we can end up rejecting certain parts of ourselves because they're not helpful in that situation, because they lead to rejection, because they lead to frustration, shame, whatever's going on, right? And so learning to the process that I've been through over the last several years that I think a lot of you guys have as well is going back over my timeline and picking up all those pieces of myself that I had left behind, that I had rejected, that I had allowed to fragment off of myself. And therefore, I was not acting as my most authentic self because my energy was scattered, because the pieces of me were scattered. My will was scattered. My desires were scattered. Okay. There was a little something else coming in. So let me take my sip of coffee. I got coffee, I got water, I got OJ. You guys, life, what a wonderful world to be living in. Pink Peony Oracle, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you guys all just for the comments of support that came out on that last video. Welcome viewer number 2. I don't know who's in the room. I just see little profile pictures show up. And not your actual profile picture, just that little portrait of a person. I don't know. So I've been going back. Yeah, divine will. Okay. I've been going back through my timeline, picking up all those pieces of myself that I had left behind. Pink Peony says, I can 100% feel the shift. Super positive. It does feel great. My intentions are stronger and I'm so much more motivated. Don't go away. Oh, man. Okay. There we go. Sorry. The comments disappear. It's like the process has become so instinctive and natural, no conscious thought. Thank you for articulating it. That is exactly what I'm going through right now. Because in the past, I was trying to put this idea on the ground and there was so much conscious thought. It was just chatter. It was clutter in my mind. It was fears. It was concerns. It was, what are people going to think? Well, what are the details? I tune into this right now. And when I connect to my guides, I just get the sense of like, this is your job. And it reminds me of another point in my prior career where I just knew I needed to be making more money. I needed to be putting my degree to use. And so I went out there and I did a job search. And the job that I found was not the job that I had imagined myself in. But I took on that mission and I made it like the greatest that it possibly could have been. Right? And that's just kind of how I feel right now. Like, I'm excited to have this new job. I also have questions like, how often does it pay? That's a very, very real question. How often does it pay? But when I tune in, it's just so intuitively guided. It's like I wake up in the morning and there's a to-do list that my intuition has written for me overnight. It's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. The availability of fresh squeezed orange juice has ruined me for life. I can never live anywhere where I cannot go get a liter of fresh squeezed orange juice for 20 pesos. I can't do it. I've been spoiled. So, gathering up the pieces of ourselves that we've left behind, and what happens to that is instead of our will being kind of scattered in many different places, meaning we have like a whole ensemble cast inside, and everybody's trying to do their own like solo project, right? What if instead of everybody trying to be Tiny Tim, we accepted that some parts of me are Turkey Boy, some parts of me are, Ebenezer Scrooge, some parts of me are like the main character, and some parts of me are little side parts, right? So instead of having all these fragments of my ego trying to pull me in different directions, I surrender so much of that. And then I come together as this like ensemble cast that is ready to get the show on the road. And here's the revelation that has come out of me contemplating this over the past several days is you and I know that we are divine, correct? Right? We are one with everything, including the divine. So if you know that deep down inside of you, you are the divine, then don't you know that deep down inside of you, once you have clarified your will, once you have gotten all of the ego concerns and the prima donnas, like the show stealers out of the way within your ego, once you've got those out of the way and you have clarified your will, don't you know that that is divine will? Your authentic, clarified will is divine will. And that's what it means to bring all these aspects into focus. Okay? Because your divine will, your mission in this life, my mission right now, me being a CE5 contact facilitator, moving forward with that, that's a job I gave myself before I got here. Does that make sense? Like, that's what I'm like, oh, I didn't realize. And I can look back at all the like readings and messages and that have come through that have just felt really profound, that I felt were truly informing me in trying to find my mission, my path. And this just makes sense. Like everything clicks, bringing together people who have a similar interest, creating community, creating a safe space to hold discussions about how we as humanity can move forward in contact with our galactic neighbors. Like, that's meeting like so many parts of me, bringing parts of me together that had been fragmented. You guys, the list of projects that I was trying to get off the ground before this energy shift, and no one of them was getting a decent amount of my energy. They just weren't. They just weren't. So that's what I've got from this card here. You've got the love, because it's almost like the as above, so below effect of this. Oh my God, I love that. All right, this is a message for absolutely everybody. If you are looking for your soul tribe, if you want to meet the people out in the world who are going to help you walk your path, it's like those come together when these come together, when all the parts of yourself are brought together and you can look at every part of yourself and love it and accept it just as it is. That's when you begin to attract that sort of unity and community in your external reality. So that's really beautiful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I got into like channeling messages, but it's meant to be a chat, and I'd love to hear more from you guys. Thank you, Pink Panty. Yeah, tell me what you guys know about CE5 contact. The ripple effect that we create. Yes, finding my purpose is linked to other people finding their purpose, right? I've been working through and healing the imposter syndrome within me. Like in my last message, my last reading, I talked about me slowly coming to the realization that I'm walking a timeline that might be a step or two ahead of the collective. And it's like, if we're all like going through a jungle together, I'm just the guide that's walking at the front of the group, right? And it took a long time for me to accept that I had been given that role. But I do feel that way. Like when I decided that it was time for me to leave the old life behind and create something brand new at age 40, you guys. It was crazy how many dominoes fell after that. How many people from my small town, small-ish town, decided that it was also time for them to go ahead and find something else out there in the world. Because it's easy to get locked down in that energy, just to be like, this is the way it's been. You know, I was living there for 20 years, and it's easy to be like, well, this is just the way it's always been. This is where I'm comfortable. right? And it's not about being uncomfortable. I wasn't squeezed out of the place where I was at so much as I had become root bound. I needed to grow bigger and more than that space would allow me to. And so me taking that step really kind of triggered some other people to just give themselves permission to do that. It's almost like somebody goes off and does something, you're like, I didn't know we could do that. I did not know that was allowed. We're showing others what is allowed. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm always inspired to hear about the project that you guys are working on. So Ariel, I think Solmana is her username, is talking about just ideas about building. I think she's in Hawaii. I think they're talking about off-grid sustainable communities in the jungle. And you guys, that's literally what this co-working campus is dedicated to. People who want to build off-grid communities, who want to build new communities and open up conversations, share resources, share strategies, share techniques for building those communities. They come here and have conferences, right? So to just be in this space where I'm seeing other people do new things that I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. It's so inspiring. It is such a domino effect. And this is why you don't have to be quote unquote on mission to be on mission. Okay, just allowing yourself to live differently in the world, just allowing yourself to publicly reject the status quo allows other people, it provides a model for other people to give themselves permission to do the same. So I love that. Do you guys want to see? Oh, my favorite thing, there's a pool. Like I have my swimsuit over here because once I get done, I'm going to type up a couple more blog posts today on my CE5 contact blog. I'm going to pick you guys up and give you guys a little tour. All right, look at just all this jungle. You can see my stuff back there. I love it because if you guys don't know, I was actually a college student for like a decade. And so this place feels like I found like the coolest library on campus. It's pretty empty right now, but it's this great big gazebo. Got some coffee. Isn't it beautiful? I am so grateful and blessed. And there are 3 conference rooms over here. 2 of them are air conditioned and they're just pretty much all mine. So if I wanted to be using air conditioning right now, I could, but then I wouldn't be looking at this beautiful jungle space. I might just take you guys. There's dogs. There are dogs here. Last week, you guys, we're in the Riviera Maya and the most beautiful birds in the world live here. And sometimes they like to perch up there. So yeah, it's an absolutely gorgeous space. I'm not going to take you all the way to the pool because it's like, it's out there. But a nice little place where I can sit and do videos. And actually on the other side, this is like a little patio. And on the other side, there's a space where I can sit and have that stone wall behind me. So I'm so grateful that they just kind of let me show up and make this my new recording studio. There's also these beautiful bees. I don't know if you guys know, but here in the Yucatan Peninsula, the Mayans have had a relationship with bees for a very, very long time. And the honeybees that live here are stingless honeybees, which means I have no fear whatsoever when I'm like out having my coffee and they come and land on my nose. They're really, really beautiful. So, all right, guys. Let's talk about CE5 contact. What do you know about it? What do you think about it? Do you think disclosure is inevitable? How do you feel about group meditations? That's something that I want to figure out. I'd like to plan one sometime this week because Pink Peony talking about how there's no conscious thought. Everything is just kind of automatic and intuitive and instinctual. I've never done a CE5 contact meditation, period. I've never done a group guided meditation. Oh man, we got people showing up. Oh, I think they're workers. C5 is great, however, is a long process. I imagine it to be. I imagine it to be a pretty long process. And I've read the scripts that are out there. I've kind of taken a look at what meditations are currently in use. And then my intuition is kind of guiding me to go ahead and include a lot of the information that I have gotten from the works of Lisa Royal Holt and a couple of other really, really, really prolific channels. I talk about Lisa in some of my blog posts, so if you've read those, you guys are probably a little familiar with her work. There's a couple links to resources of hers, but essentially she has been channeling since the 80s or 90s. One of my upcoming blog posts is going to share a video that she shared on her page in which she talks about her own process, stepping into the job of being a guide to teach others how to channel, and just kind of all of the trial and error that has come out of that process in the 1980s. And the way Under the Stars always makes me fall asleep. And then when I wake up, I know something's happened. And that's just it. That's really interesting because if one of my blog posts talks about the brainwave states, okay? Because if we're wide awake, that's not really when we're most likely open to receiving any sort of contact, right? So I've thought about that too, just the process. So right now what I want to do is just have the experience, get together some people in the area. There are a couple of spots that are actually right on the ocean that will give us a nice clear view of the sky. That's one of the biggest challenges in this area, is that it's so wooded and jungly, and there's just not a lot of spots where you get a great big view of the sky. But that's really what I know is my next step, is to get some people together and go out and do a contact meditation and just learn from the process as I'm going through it. But keep an eye out on my blog if you guys want to learn more about Lisa Royal Holt. And yeah, she just really talks about how there have been different within the organizations that she's worked with. It started at 11, meditated for 2 hours, then 3 a.m. Oh man, okay, so it really is like an all-night thing. Yeah, one of the places I'm looking at is actually a campground. Lisa is incredible, yeah. But she talks about how the different phases in like the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, what were they attempting to do, how is it working, how is it not working, and how have they found now methods that really, really work. Of course, when you talk about CE5 contact, there are a lot of people out there who are more interested in seeing the visual phenomenon, the unidentified aerial phenomenon that you can observe and hopefully document in the sky. Whereas the teachings that I'm relying on are, you say there's much shorter ways to do it, but I haven't had the opportunity. Let me comment on that, okay? I'm so sorry, I keep losing my thoughts. But once the comment pops up, I have like 10 seconds to read it before it disappears. I don't know how to get that back. So yeah, just using my guidance. For me, I am focusing a lot more just because my experience is a lot more in the channeling aspect rather than the observance of UAP. So when me moving forward in these groups, I feel like it's important to just be transparent and be like, hey, some of you guys are going to want to like see the UFO, and some of you guys are going to want to receive the guidance within. And so just kind of, I actually feel like as I move forward and I meet people locally who are into this, I feel like there's Spirit's almost letting me know that there is a partner out there. If I was in Mexico and not South Africa, I would 100% do a group protocol. Multiple intentions are stronger. That's just it. And that's what a lot of the writings that are coming up are about, what I referred to in my last reading as a million open heart chakras. What is the power of the human electromagnetic field, and how can we experiment with the ways in which that is magnified by in a group setting, which is exciting to me. It's very exciting to me to just believe that I have an opportunity to be a part of that experimentation, because we on this planet are just now in this age beginning to understand what it means to have an energy body. And so it's kind of like, well, now we get to explore, what does it mean to have multiple energy bodies that are focused together on the same intention. So yes, and that's something that I really love, is that we've got people all over the world, right? Like Ariel's in Hawaii, we got Pink Peony in South Africa, and got several people that are in the States. I've got a follower over on TikTok, somebody who I just have so much respect and admiration for, and she's out in Australia. So just the fact that I know that there are people scattered all over the world that have an interest in this, and I just so happen to live here and have been called, now I understand why I was called to this area, to this, one of the most beautiful, one of the most sought after. I think Tulum is literally like the second most popular tourist destination in the world in recent years. And so to know that, like, I'm being given this tremendous opportunity to bring people from all over the world to this space, and that is actually another card wants to come out about this space. That was something else I was kind of thinking about talking to you guys about on my way out here, because I gotta tell you something about the physical geographic location that I'm living in. Oh shit. The reason why this is an important place to be doing stuff like CE5 contact is because they've been here before. Okay? This is the card that came out. I remember. Soul plan, the fated life versus the destiny life. So for those of you who don't know, back in January, I was living in Progresso, spent a little time in Merida, and I knew it was not the place for me. And I started looking into other locations in the area because I knew I needed to be in Maya land, near the cenotes. This was very important to me. So I was considering... Okay, so quick. Okay, so many thoughts. Pink Peony. My thought is that if we get online and we do a a group meditation, then we can each of us go to our own individual locations and watch the night sky. That's sort of like the vision that they've given me. So I'm going to work on that template ASAP. Okay, because how cool would that be? We sit and we have a meditation, and then all of a sudden, and then we each go to our own outside and watch the sky and see what comes along. Yeah. So, okay. Yes. I'm so glad that we're on the same page. Okay. All right. My thoughts are all over the place. So back in like January, February, I started looking into these other communities, other places that I might relocate to. And honestly, Tulum was not on my mind at all. In my mind, Tulum was like this party town. I'd done the party town thing before. I've lived in a college town for like 20 years. And it just, I was like, I've been there. It's pretty. I'll visit again. But I don't think that's where I'm going to like go live. So I was doing like the search. I was gathering data and information that I like about all these other communities, and I could not make up my mind. And so I asked Spirit, I was like, can you like, I don't know, give me a dream or something, please, 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 please. And then that night I dreamt of being here in Tulum. So that's how I ended up in this location. And when I was in Progresso and I first started experiencing like visiting these Mayan sites, and encountering Mayans, seers, and healers, and being told that I had past lives in this land, like it just kind of makes sense to me, right? I've also talked about, oh my God, because she's sitting here in front of us, about messages I've received about having a soul mission to come into contact with the cenotes, which are they're sinkholes with this beautiful, beautiful clear blue water, right? And those cenotes almost being a portal at one point in time between the Mayan and the Irish worlds. I know it sounds super out there, but those are the messages that I've received. So I know that me being here in Tulum was always a part of the plan. I just didn't know the contact thing was too, right? So let's talk about geographically where I'm at in the world, okay? I'm about 10 minutes outside of Tulum, and right between Tulum and basically the small town that this is adjacent to, which is called Chemuyu, all right? And I'm about halfway in between these 2 points. What's cool is when I need to head into Tulum town, I'm passing by the Tulum archaeological zone every single time, and I can feel the energy of it. Like I'm like it nothing sets me at peace more than just being in like a half-kilometer radius of those ruins. When I get in my car and I go the opposite direction, so in this direction to where I'm at, Chemuil, I pass a much older and much smaller archaeological site known as Shelha. There is a mural there that I want to let you guys know. The first time I saw that mural, I knew that the being in it was not an earth being. Okay? So this is the power and the potential of the geographic location that I am in. This space has been a conduit for galactic Earth communications in the past. And if you talk to any of the, no, I'm not going to say all, okay, but many of the living Maya in this area will tell you that they believe that their ancestors had regular contact with other planets. They talk about Venus. Venus is definitely a helper planet. Venus is full of allies. Venus is a beautiful place to astral project to. You will find some pools that kind of look like that. You might find your Venusian other selves, right? There's like, that was my first experience when I astral projected to Venus for healing. There's like these Venusians that step forth and kind of tend to your healing. And in that moment, I knew that amongst those Venusians were essentially other aspects of my own self. So it's just so amazing to think of everything that I believe about the world now that I did not like 3 years ago. Like I'm finally at a point where I can look back over my transition and it makes sense to me what for, right? Even if it wasn't what I had in mind, it makes sense to me what for. The hardest part is giving yourself permission to let go of the thing that you always had in mind. Because as soon as you do that, you're allowing whatever is the divine will, your purified will, to go ahead and just like flow towards you. So being a historian, have I looked in Tartaria? Oh my God, okay. Being a historian and a very, very, very inquisitive person like I am, I have to be aware of slippery slopes. And I'm not saying that Tartaria is a bad idea. I'm not saying that I'm rejecting it. I'm just saying that if I start to dig into that, I will not leave my house for 3 days. Like I will need to get to the bottom of it, right? So one of the things that comes along with like being aware of all these things, because that makes you into mud floods and yeah, yes. Wait, what's FE? Tell me what FE is. Because I do believe, like I was just watching a thing yesterday on how the Sphinx was essentially like buried up to its neck in sand when, like, you know, just like over thousands of years. Also, if you look at Göbekli Tepe, oh, flat earth. Flat earth I'm trying to stay away from because honestly, it's like, that's not my mission. That's not my mission. Even if people wanted to talk to me about like, are aliens running the government? I don't know, man, that's not my mission. I'm honestly not sure too. I will admit to you that there's so many other parts of the way that I thought I perceived the world that are being kind of like completely rewritten, that I'm always open-minded. I'm always open-minded. But it's like you have to, like when I was in school, yeah, you're not alone. I bet a lot of us think that way. Like when I was in school, when I was studying history, right, as my BA, they were like, so what's your focus? What's your specialty? I'm like, I just love history. Can I just study like all of history? And they're like, no, you have to focus on something or else you're never really going to get anything done. And so it's like that. I know that there's a lot of information out there that just doesn't directly affect the work that I have to do. And if I were trying to get to the bottom of every mystery, it's the same with Atlantis too. It's the same with Atlantis. I know that if I really got in there and dug around, I'd probably find a lot of past life memories, probably find like a lot of really interesting things about what went on in Atlantis. In this lifetime, I have been pulled down the wormhole towards Lemuria though. There are just so many lies and resets. But yeah, I feel the same way, Pink Peony, and I feel like that. And I apologize if I have been given your name and I keep forgetting it. But for me, you're Pink Peony is, of course, like, you're the courageous peony. It's the symbol for self-love. Where was I at? I think that's completely normal thing for us to be like, wow, that's interesting theory, but I'm going to go ahead and take a step back at this point in time. Later, when I have time to go down a wormhole, I might go down that wormhole. But I think that you are not alone. I've just now gotten up the guts to come online and openly say, let's talk to aliens. I want to teach people how to talk to aliens. So I'm trying to keep my just only wear one tinfoil hat at a time. On-site researcher, go to locations. It's natural for me to jump into things. So, okay, can you tell me more about what that means? You are an on-site researcher. I would love to know more about that if you're interested in sharing in this forum. Trina, hi. You got to limit because otherwise that's how energy gets split. If the more things that I call into my consciousness that I'm not quite sure how I feel, the more fences that I'm sitting on, the less unified I am. So it's just self-preservation, and it's okay. I'm really glad that you guys, what we're doing here is we're talking about the coping mechanisms that we're coming up with in this very, very strange new terrain that we're in. Thank you guys for helping me to create a space in which these conversations can happen. Okay, so a reading I did for you 2 years ago warned you of that. Oh, just like going down too many wormholes. I tell you what, sometimes when I deliver those messages, I'm like, ooh, that's good advice. I'm going to write that down. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, we're 36 minutes into it. I'll wait and see if anybody else shows up and wants to have conversations. I'm like so open to this. You're doing research at ancient sites using your discernment, intuition, and critical thinking to determine. I didn't know that's what you do. That's freaking cool. That's really cool. That's really, really cool because I'm just now beginning to understand. Like, I don't think I told you guys about the UFO I saw at Isla Mujeres, and it was not a present day UFO. Like, I was at Isla Mujeres, there is an ancient site there, and there's like what historians think the ancient site was for, and then I showed up and I was like, I'll tell you what this ancient site was for, because it's like I could bring in like the memories of the actions taking place on those sites, usually super ancient sites. Proof of giants? Oh, that's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing. I love to see ways in which other people are contributing to just like opening up the knowledge that we have about the world. You went on a road trip to get some footage. Okay, this is a little mini story time. That's really cool. But I was at this in Isla Mujeres. There is a little archaeological site, and there was just this point in which I was standing at the archaeological site looking north towards the main part of the island, and I saw a giant craft land in that space in my mind's eye, and I knew it to be an ancient memory, potentially a future memory of an actual like UFO touching down on Isla Mujeres. So that's a gift. That is a gift that I didn't know people could have, but it sounds like some of us have it, to be able to be present on an ancient site and to see what has happened in that space. So you need to put it into concise format and plan to start posting all my findings and allow others to add their opinions, ideas of what they think it could be. Creating safe spaces to have these conversations. That is so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and with everybody else, because this is what we're doing for each other, you guys. Just like being able to show up and be like, hey guys, look at the ways in which I'm looking at things differently, looking at the new world that each of us is creating. Look into Adam, Inky's calendar, and the giant footprint. Dude, I know all about Inky. I mean, not all about, but like, I used to teach the Epic of Gilgamesh. It wasn't even a required reading. I was just like, oh, we're going to have these kids read the Bible flood. We need to like have them read the Gilgamesh flood, the Enuma Elish. is the deep Abzu. I had no idea. I had literally no idea. Because it's like, I'm aware of the very ancient history of many different parts of the world, but admittedly, my education was so Eurocentric, right? South Africa is not in the Mediterranean, and for that reason, I didn't get that kind of education. It's one of the best works with so much factual information. It is so beautiful. Can I tell you how much I super resonate with that idea of, I don't know why, who is it? Is it in Kidu that everyone's schooling is Eurocentric? That's why I'm not a teacher anymore. Boom, boom, boom. But it's that idea of like he was wild until he like lay with a woman and then he became civilized. And I just think that it's so interesting because you hear stories of previous genetic variations of humanity that was not capable of procreating. You have to go out and find the true history. Have I done walking meditations? Wait, let me see. Hold on. How do I get that back? I'm so sorry. It disappears after 10 seconds. I wonder if I can watch myself on the laptop. I'm going to mute. I'm going to see if I can get a better view of the chat. There's me. Okay. Walking meditations. You have a hard time sitting still and meditating lately. I think walking meditations, cleaning meditations, swimming meditations, whatever you have to do to your body to get it ready to do the consciousness work, it is all good. I also, I do not at all want to discourage walking meditation, but I will tell you that, especially in nature, swimming and floating meditations, I call it mermaid time, because there's so many beautiful places that I can go snorkeling in this area. And so I literally just like tune out everything else. I enter into this other world. One of the things on the list of the 7 steps towards contact is interspecies communication. So like, it's funny, I was at the cenote on Sunday and it was kind of crowded. Like it was really pretty crowded. There was like a big event there, but I was like, I'm still going to do my little exercise that I came to do. And I was basically like, all the fish were hiding. They were like hiding in the caves because there were people everywhere. And I was just kind of like chilling under the water, like trying to channel like the light, trying to figure out how can I use my energy to like tell the fish that I'm here and that I love them, just practicing and just like exploring with that. I will also say that, meditations, I feel like Trina, meditations with trees could be really, really helpful to you as well. I've talked about this before. When we feel like our electromagnetic field is maybe a little full, we can go to a tree and ground that. Okay. In fact, I'm going to share with you like a revelation that I had recently about the electromagnetic field. What that means is we have an electric field and we have a magnetic field. The electric field is an outward force and it's driven by mental energy, by thoughts. So if we're percolating a lot of thoughts, filling our energy space with a lot of thoughts, sometimes it's good to take that electricity and ground it into something. You know, the way that you used to scoot across a carpet and like you touch something and get shocked, right? Think about that. You're carrying a lot of mental energy. Mental energy is electronic, it's electric energy. You can actually ground that into the earth when it gets to be too much, because I feel like an excess of mental energy is something that is preventing us from really being able to go into meditation. So that's the masculine aspect, the outward aspect of the electromagnetic field. The inward or the feminine is the magnetic. And that is actually connected to our emotions, right? But also to our intuition, our ability to receive. So I feel like that's, Trina, something that's going to help a lot. Like the balance between your electro and the magnetic aspects of your field. Yeah, they're letting me know. Just go chill with the tree and they're going to take some of that electricity from you. And what that does is allows you to be more magnetic, to receive more of what it is that you're going into meditation for. So, yeah. And I want to say how grateful I am to be living in the community that I'm living in, you guys, the people that I'm meeting from all over the world, that I make this joke of everybody I meet in Tulum, you learn their name, and then like I immediately look at what rock they're wearing around their neck. Like that's how ubiquitous it is. Everybody that I meet is wearing crystals, right? Everybody that I meet meditates. Like everybody that I meet is aware of, a part of the spiritual awakening that's happening on the planet at this time. And so just to be able to be in that kind of environment where I can talk to people about the desire to get into these projects and they're like, that sounds cool. Not, ooh, that's a little weird, right? Like that is a tremendous, tremendous blessing. Yes, thank you, thank you. I realized lately, like there was like not too long ago where I thought I was just burnt out on people forever. I just needed to find new people. I just need to find people who are capable of vibrating in the same realm. Yes, lapis and ankh. That's just it. People that like, you're like, somebody's got the eye of Horus. I'm like, I see you. And they're like, I see you. And it's so cool. You can say as above, so below to somebody and they know exactly what you're talking about. It's beautiful. Flower of life, all sorts of stuff. I will, and I have said before, that there's also a lot of very performative spirituality. There's even what I would call predatory spirituality going on around here. And that was something that kind of had me like kind of contract my energy body until I started really getting out and meeting new people. Like I met a new friend this weekend who has been guiding people in ayahuasca ceremonies for like the last 10 or 15 years. And she's like, I just have been doing that for so long. I decided it was time to make some new friends, right? People that I can connect to regarding tarot, regarding astrology. And also I will share with you guys something that's not going to end up on the channel, but it's a project that I'm so excited to be a part of. There is a women's group that I have joined here in Tulum, and the host for that is going to be gone for about 12 weeks. And an opportunity has opened up to essentially host a subgroup that's going to focus on how we as women can develop our intuition. So that's actually going to be a project that takes course. It's essentially going to be weekly meetings locally in person with other women for 12 weeks where I am able to put together some sort of curriculum, framework, guidelines, a process that we can use to kind of understand the ins and outs of that entire journey of learning how to live intuitively, which you guys heard me talk about it on this channel. So I've been doing. I made that commitment to myself. I want to say it was in December of 2020. And so 17 months of that, I feel like I finally am able to parse out like steps and techniques and advice and tools that I can hand over to somebody and be like, here's what worked for me. And also create just sort of this a space in which people can begin to normalize having conversations about what it means to recondition ourselves to accept our gift of living intuitively in this world. So that's something that's going to be taking place from June. It's going to go on June, July, August, and in the beginning of September. Like I said, I'm not sure how much of that's going to end up at the channel, on the channel at this point in time, but I do have a very strong feeling that this experience is going to lead me to creating more content on that subject in the future. It might come out in book form, it might come out in seminar form, but I just feel so completely blessed. Like I said, I just kind of turned myself over. I got bored. I got bored. I got myself into healing mode, and then after a while, I was like, "Oh man, spirit, can you throw me a hobby or something? Like, I need things to do with my time." And so, just having these projects kind of fall in my lap, I feel like it's really, really amazing. I feel like it's so. I always say, it's like when we just allow the universe to put us where we belong, it usually ends up way better than where we were trying to put ourselves, not knowing, right? So I'm very, very blessed. And I was telling a friend that recently. It's like I've been practicing the gratitude for a really long time, but these days, like I wake up and in the morning, it's just like effortless gratitude. Like I'm just like, man, what a world, what a time, what a place to be living in. It's so beautiful. And what wonderful community. You, my YouTube community, have been so patient with me throughout my ups and downs and my postings and not postings, and just like all the shadow work that I have had to go through in order to be ready to do what I mentioned in the last reading, which has been boredom has been your problem. That's just it. As it was all like, I feel like boredom. Okay. So many thoughts all over the place. I feel like the boredom needed to come in. Okay, I wish I could remember a name, but one of this lady that I follow on YouTube, on TikTok, came in and validated a message that I had earlier, not too long ago, when I was talking about being the prism. And being the prism is like being the tool for source, the agent of source. And I keep hearing that phrase again and again and again. So my last reading, I was talking about like there's all these people walking around with this beam that just connects them to source. Sorry to miss this. Hi, Kizzy Cat. I'm so glad you're here. I am well, and I hope that you are as well. But yeah, just this idea of being like a prism, somebody whose job it is to take the white light and shine it out in the form of a rainbow, or to be these agents of source, right? With these little beams walking around connected directly to source. This girl on TikTok was talking about, imagine, she showed like the picture of the prism, like imagine the Pink Floyd album cover where you have the white light comes in and then it fractals out into the rainbow. And she showed these like black spots on the prism. And she says that what happens is when there's a blockage in your ability to shine that light, it's almost like source is going to magnify that blockage, project that blockage into our external reality so that we can confront it, deal with it, transmute it, and get that blockage out of the way. So when we get into situations that just begin to magnify and magnify and magnify until we can't stand them anymore and we have to act upon them, that's, I believe, source helping us to just sort of highlight that blockage and create a physical manifestation in which we are able to transmute it and clear it out of the way. She also says that we don't have to do that. If we can go within and see the blockage and again, ground it into the earth plane, then that keeps us from having to project it into our reality and act it out. Right? But if we go within and we're not seeing the blockage, that's when we have to begin to act it out. So I was very, very grateful for that, but also to hear somebody else talking about the same message that I had come through about us acting as prisms, the human body actually being a physical prism. It's all about the action point that's reached through boredom. That's just it. And that's what I realized about like all the adversities in our life. You know, sometimes like I've talked to people, it even comes up when we talk about, I was typing up the different types of close encounters and how there are certain people, originally the term CE4, close encounters of the fourth kind, was originally a term that was meant to describe an encounter that literally shifted the observer's perception of reality. haven't we all had one of those by now, right? Like most of us have had CE4 contacts, right? Nowadays, if you look up what does CE4 contact mean, there are certain people who classify that or identify that only as contacts in which an abduction took place. Based on what I've read in the channeled literature, abductions are part of a contract that that human being entered into. They were all like, oh, well, I'm a part of this alien group, and there's this information that we don't have about human beings, so I'm going to reincarnate as a human being and sort of donate myself to the project. However, when somebody is experiencing fear or trauma or a sense of boundaries violation that can come along with the memories or the perception of that type of experience, they're not always open to hearing that that was an experience that their higher self chose for themselves, right? But it's just the same way as if somebody is healing through a trauma, they're not going to hear you. It's not going to help them for you to say, well, you chose this, right? But once you get through it, all the things that I've been through, I can look back and I'd be like, I see why I would choose that, because I see what it taught me how to do. It taught me how to, it's like all this transmutation, guys, we know how to do this when we're not in human bodies. The purpose of us being here now is to figure out how to do it from a human body. Isn't that kind of cool? Yeah. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. Unless you guys have any more questions or comments. Yeah, Pink Peony, it's all about the action point. Whenever we're feeling that pressure, it's all about moving us towards the point of action, of decision, of saying, I reject the status quo and I choose a new timeline for myself. What time is it? All right, guys. Well, if you are interested in staying in touch regarding group meditations, okay, please go ahead, and I might use Soul School as an outlet to spread that message, to like kind of try to garner support. But right now, my directive, I feel, is creating a community, creating people that I can go to and say, hey, do you want to begin to participate in this contact phenomenon, however that looks like, through online meditations, maybe just having conversations about this is really helpful. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to chat. You know me. I will come on here and talk to myself for an hour straight, but I love it so much better when I get to talk to you. But yeah, if you guys are interested in staying in touch, then just go ahead and fill out the contact form on the CE5 contact page, and I will create a human initiated contact with you. Anytime I've got plans to do a live meditation or anything like that. Thank you guys so much for being here and help me find like what this might look like. And thank you guys all so much for your support. One final announcement, if anybody cares, is that I am all of the extended readings that I used to put out that are available over on Vimeo for video on demand, those are going offline, I believe, at the end of June. So if anybody wants to watch any of my extended readings, that is the window of time that you have to get that done. If anybody wants to book a reading, go ahead and reach out to me. And like I said before, maybe what I'll do today is get my prorated pricing up on my website. So if you guys want to get together and let me channel some messages from the Galactic Guides for you about your energy body, about your healing path, about whatever it is that you want, definitely hit me up at all the info below, okay? Thank you so much for being in the jungle with me today, you guys. This is such a beautiful time, and I hope that we will all be back together in this space very, very soon. So take care.